Good morning, everybody. Before you start doing your Chapter 8 Project 1, which is the guided program development, you're going to need to add the ASP.NET functionality to your installation of Visual Studio. So to do that, you want to come over to your Start menu, assuming that you're on Windows 10, and start typing Visual Studio in the search. But this time, instead of clicking Visual Studio 2019 like we normally would, you want to click Visual Studio Installer. You may be in a slightly different place on your search results, but you all should have a Visual Studio Installer app listed as well. When you click that, you're going to have to give it permission to make changes to your device, and it will load up the Visual Studio Installer window that you probably remember from the first time you installed Visual Studio. So for me, I run my updates regularly on Visual Studio. So like you saw this little flag right here that came up and said up to date or no updates available. If you haven't ran updates lately, you may have to do that first before you can modify your installation of Visual Studio. So I have Visual Studio Community 2019 on my home computer, which I imagine is what most of you have as well. And to modify this installation, they make it quite easy for you. They literally put a button here that says Modify. So you just get to click that. It takes a second to check with Microsoft and see what other types of plugins and extensible features you can add. And when your screen comes up that looks like this, you'll notice that the very top option is Web and Cloud functionality. So what we're going to be using here for Chapter 9 is ASP.NET and Web Development, which is a simple check like this, and then you can go ahead and install while downloading, assuming you have a fast enough internet connection. Some of you may want to choose Download All, then Install, which is totally fine as well. And as soon as you click Modify, it'll walk you through the process of installing the ASP.NET Web functionality. Before I stop the video, though, I would just add that if you haven't ever looked at this screen before, it's kind of informative to scroll through here and see what the different functionality Visual Studio could have for you. The Python development features are very well developed. It's a really great environment to play around with Python in. You can also do JavaScript and Node.js. Down here in desktop and mobile, most of us probably just have the .NET desktop development, which is sort of the standard with Visual Studio. There's also a mobile development with .NET feature right here. It's a third-party technology built on Xamarin, and if you haven't ever played with this, it's kind of fun to do. If you want to install this, it does take quite a bit of hard drive space to install. But it lets you create iOS and Android apps using a .NET language like VB or C#, and they run cross-platform. So the idea would be that you could create one app that would work for both an iOS or Android device using Xamarin. So there's all kinds of other stuff, game development with Unity, game development with C++. There's toolkits down here, tool sets down here. You can do some data science with Python, or if you're more Microsoft oriented, you can do F#. Fun things to play around with. But anyway, so ASP.NET is what we need. I'm going to download all, then install. I'll click Modify, and it will take just a little while for this sizable download to process. So for me, it was like 737 megabytes. And as soon as this download finishes, it walks you through the remaining steps of installing it. I'm going to end the video here. If you guys run into any issues performing this little operation here to update with ASP.NET, please let me know, and I'll be glad to meet with you on Teams, and we can get it worked out. Thanks.